Hello and welcome to the Malika Writes channel. My name is Malika Writes, and today I'm going to be talking about Disney's Hercules and how it relates to the masculine journey. So the world requires action, and the masculine is all about doing. When we look at the myths, they are full of men moving mountains for the women they love. We see how Orpheus braved the underworld for Eurydice, how Lancelot endured for his lady Guinevere, how Samson betrayed his secret out of love for Delilah. For better or worse, men will do anything for the women that they love or to get what they want. For further evidence of this, you only need to read any myth involving Zeus. When a boy is born, the cutting of the umbilical cord is quite significant, and it is not because he has been physically separated from his mother. As you may have noticed, female children also have umbilical cords. Yet the cutting of the cord is significant for boys because a second cutting will take place later on in their lives, a spiritual one, where they will have to leave what is familiar and safe and go out into the unknown, where the boy will have to leave his mother and become a man. When a boy is born, he transfers from the cord to the teat. Again, girls do this too. So why is it significant for boys? The reason is this. Boys often metaphorically remain at the teat for the rest of their lives unless they do, keyword being do, something to cut themselves off from their mothers, and by doing so begin the process of becoming men. If the boy has good parents, then he will see his mother as the source of all beauty and good in the world. She becomes the embodiment of the vision that he will chase forever, the eternal muse. She embodies the destiny and all that this grand horizon promises him. A son clings to his mother because she is the muse that he has been besotted with from birth. She is the healer of hurts, the source of unconditional love and recognition, the first beauty he will ever perceive. However, the feminine and masculine are immortal concepts. Like the pillars of the earth, such as gravity and the laws of physics, they cannot be embodied in their totality by a single person, as people have elements of masculinity and femininity in them. Therefore, the boy must recognize that his mother is not the heavenly muse, and she is not the vision that he must chase. That is where the father comes in. Without a father or some active and present male influence, if a father cannot be present, a boy will find it extremely difficult to become a man, and many never do. We must understand that it's not just about the father being there. The boy learns that his mother is not the eternal muse, partly because he sees that she is his father's wife. The father effectively tells his son, "This is my wife, go and get your own," through the only language the young male will understand: action. This then creates the conflict that will unsettle him. Being male, the boy will rebel against this. After all, who wants to lose a good thing? Clinging even more to his mother, and his father becomes a challenger, the first opposition he will ever face. Josh Wolf, an American comedian, has a funny bit about the first time he realized his son might actually beat him in a fight. Many sons play fight with their fathers. While it may be quite odd to see a mother and daughter going at it on the living room floor, it's quite a normal occurrence to see a father and his son roughhousing on the floor. The boy needs this because it will help him later on. A boy without a father is a boy without opposition. And as any writer will tell you, no conflict equals no story. The rough play also teaches the boy constraint. While he is play fighting with his father, he knows that this is play, and so strives to create a balance. He learns about his own boundaries. He knows what hurts and what doesn't hurt, what's fun and what's gone too far. This will aid him in the future when navigating social settings and the workplace. When his father inevitably beats him, it teaches him respect for authority. As I mentioned before, the subconscious message that the father sends to his son will unsettle him. It will hurt him. And this is partly the wound that Robert Bly talks about in Iron John. Every man has a wound. No matter how well he was raised, there will be some sort of wound that he has to investigate. So here is his mother, whom he sees as all that is beauty and all that is just and good in the world, and his father tells him, "You can't have her, she's mine, go out and get your own." This is quite a painful experience, and what it produces is longing. But for what? All of this is happening on a very subconscious level, and the boy doesn't know yet what he's looking for. He doesn't know that what he's seeing in his mother is beauty. He just knows that she's it. He cannot separate her from that vision, so his father must do it for him. With his relationship with the boy's mother, he shows the boy that she is not the eternal muse, but a real woman. The father's role is not only to be the opposition, but also to be the teacher. With his relationship with the boy's mother, he teaches the boy how to behave with real women. While he is showing his son through subconscious action that his mother is not the embodiment of all love and light, he must also physically separate the boy from his mother by giving him a skill. He takes that restless energy and directs it, teaching the boy to physically use that energy to create something positive. The human inclination is to do something that benefits the self. So the father shows the boy through his own work and by providing for his family to give selflessly what he has created from that energy. If the boy ever hopes to gain his own fair maiden, he must learn to give what he has created, so that she may transform it and expand on it. But before that, he must learn to actually do something. This is the importance of teaching a child a skill. We see the destructive potential of Hercules' strength when he destroys the marketplace in the Disney movie Hercules. The same strength Hercules uses to save people later on is the same strength he uses to accidentally bring down the pillars of the marketplace. That strength is the physical manifestation of masculinity, and it must be directed and trained. The boy's growing masculinity will try to challenge his father's, but his father must not seek to destroy his son by coming down on him with all his wrath and fury, but rather encourage it and direct it appropriately. If the father teaches his son a skill, the boy will grow to respect him, and a strong bond will form between them. The father is the boy's first master. The boy is the father's apprentice. The boy will seek to form his own way, but the father must not let him go until he is ready to do so. He cannot go anywhere until the foundation has been set, and that is what we see in the Disney movie with Hercules. Even though Hercules is a grown boy, he remains under the tutorship of his old father. If his parents had good parents of their own, then by the time the boy is born, the father will be done with his days of youthful valor. In perhaps what is the most inaccurate retelling of the myth of Hercules, we get our clearest example of the journey from a boy to a man. Disney's Hercules was a favourite of mine growing up. My mother read books to us as we sat at the dinner table, and we would remain there for hours listening as she read one story after the other. I'd seen the movie also, and I adored it, and I think we had all of the Disney picture books. But the story of Hercules was not for me, a little girl, but for a little boy. Girls do not need to move an inch to go the distance, but boys do. In the Disney adaptation, we meet the adopted father and mother of Hercules. They are old and simple. The thing about wisdom is that it comes with simplicity. I want to make a point that I'm not saying people should have children when they are old. The point is that if everything has been done in order, by the time the boy comes along, the father has done the part where he jumps on his steed and rides off into the sunset, acquired his skills, and found his own fair maiden. His journey has now become internal. While women work from the inside out, men work from the outside in. The father's focus has shifted from the act of doing to the why of it all. The young boy sees this and becomes disappointed. His mother is not the yielder of the Holy Grail from which all blessings come forth, and his father is not the Grail King, but a ponderous man who deliberately works at his craft. Not with the urgency of hot-blooded youth, but with the patience and understanding of the wise. In his disappointment, he views his parents as ancient. The youth cries, "Nobody understands me." Girls usually say this at the age of 11 to 15. By 16, they've given up on everybody but their age mates and that one teacher/aunt who gets it. Boys go through that too, but usually from the age of 13 to 18, and by 18 they usually don't listen to a word their father has to say. The African saying, "It takes a village to raise a child," comes to mind. Older brothers, cousins, uncles, or male friends serve the purpose of bridging the gap between the father and son in a way that sisters, aunts, and mothers just can't do. Whether parents like it or not, their children will go elsewhere for advice. There will come a time when your little treasure will think everything you say belongs to an ancient world. A good parent facilitates and monitors these external relationships. In the Disney adaptation of Hercules, Hercules becomes the apprentice of Phil. Phil is a comical character, and Hercules is clearly stronger than him. But Phil still asserts dominance over Hercules because he has something that Hercules wants. He has more knowledge, and his craft is training heroes, which is what Hercules wants to become. Phil teaches Hercules to master his strength, but he is only able to do this because the young hero's father has done the groundwork. He has instilled in Hercules a work ethic, a desire to do, and a respect for authority. When a father physically takes the son away from the mother, he then introduces him into a guild of men, and through them he learns how to live. In the ancient days, a secret ritual was performed, and the men hunted and fought together. This brotherhood taught the boy how to live as a man. It's effectively the same as Jesus going to the temple at the age of 12. The guild of men take over the next part of the training, which the father cannot do because the father is on a journey of his own. If the father has not done his duty, and he has left the boy to metaphorically remain at the teat of his mother, or has been absent, then the boy will be shocked by the opposition of the world when it eventually comes for him, but he will lack the drive to do anything about it. The mother becomes the authority he refers to. Her word is law, and he becomes a feminine boy. Femininity in women is a beautiful thing, but in men it is like a horror story. An excess of femininity in men causes them to stop moving. They succumb to a mood, they become inactive, and that energy that is vital to their transformative process finds other, usually destructive, outlets. An excess of femininity in men causes them to become self-serving, sluggish, and averse to responsibility. Instead of taking problems head-on and finding ways to solve them, they walk away, blame everyone around them, and become scornful. Coupled with their inherent strength and natural tendency towards aggression, all these produce the type of men that women despise and fear. Feminine men become passive, scornful, obsessive, unmotivated people who contribute little to nothing to society. In the Disney adaptation, Hercules becomes a man when he lays down his life for Megara. In the movie, he jumps into the River of Souls and swims down, aging rapidly as he swims. There is an extremely tense moment where the fates cut his thread of life, and it seems as though Hercules has failed. However, Hercules emerges from the river glowing gold and holding the soul of Megara in his arms. He has saved the girl he loves, he has finally become a god, and he can go to Olympus. He gets the warm hero's welcome that he has always wanted. Except he gives up his immortality to be immortal with Megara, and says, "Where I belong is with Meg." It's a beautiful moment, and it's where he becomes a man. Now, am I saying that a man must marry in order to become a man? No. A man must be willing to lay down his life for someone else in order to become a man. In ancient times, a boy became a man when he could hunt. In other words, when he could provide for a family or community. When we talk of laying down one's life for another person, I'm talking about facing opposition, facing a type of death, and it doesn't have to be a physical death. Marriage is perhaps our best example of this act of sacrifice, because marriage is death. Many of the rituals in wedding ceremonies are funeral rituals. The bridesmaids preparing the bride for her wedding at the altar is the exact same preparation used to prepare a sacrifice at the altar in many ancient traditions. The whole act of sexual consummation of the marriage is reminiscent of the whole altar sacrifice. The ritual is not complete until blood has been spilled. For the man, the death element of marriage may not be as clearly illustrated, but it is still there. And in the Hercules adaptation, it's made even more clear. Hercules forsakes the state of God to live a mortal life with this woman. Marriage is therefore death to the self, and Hercules goes willingly to it and into his manhood. He comes essentially to the same position as his earthly father. I would secretly love another adaptation showing Hercules' son going through the exact same thing and Hercules sort of chuckling as he waits for the boy to come full circle. But considering Disney's track record with remakes and sequels, I'll just content myself with imagining it in my head. In The Silmarillion, a book by Tolkien, we have the story of Eleuthingel, who sees Melian the Maya and forsakes Valinor for her. Here again the death element of marriage is illustrated. All the heroic pursuits of that ever-expanding horizon, the glorious godlike status, all that a man might achieve on his own if he lived solely for himself, he must abandon and be taken into the underworld by a woman. Though at first it may seem that he is losing everything, but in time he comes to see that he has gained much more. The eternal life is always waiting after the physical death. The gods are not going anywhere. But what Megara does is bring him back to what he wanted in the very beginning. All that Hercules felt in the arms of his mother as an infant, only now he knows the difference between the eternal muse and a real woman. So, in making that distinction, he's gained wisdom. Eleuthingel saw the light of Valinor in the face of Melian, and he was content. So though marriage is death, it is also rebirth. Mastery of craft does not make a boy a man. It is an important step to become a man, just as Hercules needed to become a hero in order to have the power to defeat Hades. The selfless act of giving, that foundation of giving freely which his father taught him, allows him to provide his heroic service, and it ultimately culminates in his willingness to give his life for Megara. The Iroka tree is all in a single seed, but when it begins to grow, it is just a sprout. It must go through all the stages, or it will never become the tall tree that it was destined to be. Before we close, I just want to say that the feminine has a place in men. It is the eternal muse of inspiration. It represents destiny and beauty, and he chases after it. It's a high and noble calling, and it's important to cultivate it and to understand where its place is in the human male. It is a beautiful dream. He strives for this heavenly picture only for him to realize that in the face of a woman he may see the light of heaven. He who serves is greatest, and Hercules does not need to be a god. He just needs love. In the myths concerning Hercules, when he dies, he does become a god. But what a dilemma that is for our modern world. For those who do not believe there is life after death. For those who do not believe in sacrifice. So we choose to be gods, and we lose all that can be gained through that death. So we never get what we wanted in the beginning. And the cycle that was perfected over centuries is broken. So I'm going to end the video there, and I hope that I've given you something to think about. I look forward to your discussions in the comment section. I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to this rather long video. I hope you have a lovely day. This has been the Malika Writes channel.